By the way, regarding what you said, like it's not always like, an easy path. I heard a nice saying that my overnight success took me 10 years to build. So it's really like that. So I have a journey that is a little different than most people, I would say, because I started in the academia. I was doing my PhD at Berkeley under a Fulbright scholarship. I was very, very interested in systems and how they affect human action. And as part of that process, I was interested in can you create computerized systems that have no constants in them? As I was working on that, I built a prototype. It's a funny story, actually. My advisor, I was in Berkeley, but my advisor was from the AI lab in MIT. And I remember telling him, like, can you build it? Like, I'm actually contemplating if it's possible to build this software that has no constant in it and everything's a variable. And I remember him telling, like, brushing it off. And it was like, no, of course you can't. I was like, okay, now I have to show you that it is possible. And that's how I started building the prototype. It took me about 2.5 years, I think, to actually build the prototype. But actually, after those 2.5 years, it was built, and I very much enjoyed the conversation of "I told you so" that it's possible. But then that year, that was built about, I would say, when I was 37, so it would be like that would be like 2010. Yep, 2010. Yeah, quite a journey. But I actually thought that I was going to be a professor at the academia. I didn't think about becoming an entrepreneur and a founder at all. At the time, I was also working in the administrative office of student acceptance and so on and so forth. And as I was looking into what you can do with software that has no constants in them, that everything's a variable, I actually understood that the service-based market has unique needs that other markets don't have. And the major unique need is that it needs to onboard their clients. There needs to be always an onboarding process. There's never a situation where you just you just come in and you use the software. You can use the service or whatnot. You have to go through an onboarding process, and that actually taught me a lot where this software can be used. And actually, the first time that I wanted to implement it, I said, what, as an academic is, right? What is the most complex situation of onboarding, right? And what I found is that actually registration is the most complex onboarding situation because it needs to branch out. There's eligibility situations, there's health situations. It's very, very complex. And I was like, okay, so let's use that as a way to test out the software. And I tested it out. At the time, I was in connection with a few organizations here and there. As a PhD student, you need to make ends meet somehow. So I was in touch with them, and I used to build them a few things here and there. And I talked to them a lot to understand what are their needs and how does it work and how does the registration process work for them and so forth. And I actually understood that there could be a market for this. And then as life happens, my wife decided that she does want to be an academic, my wife at the time. And I was like, okay, I think two academics in the same house is not going to work out. That's a recipe for a very life, right? So I decided, okay, let's take this and see if we can build something from it. And I decided to found a company. And my expectations in the beginning were very like, I didn't think that I'm going to build a software company with thousands of clients and a lot of employees. From my perspective, it's like, this is a fun project. Let's see if I can make it work for a few organizations, make some money, all good. So I started that. Yeah, it's like you can't fail. Like if you're so and then I started building it, and people were really interested in it because it was different in the way that it was thinking, because it came from the idea of how can you create a system that can serve all types of services, right? Because as I was looking at the market, I saw the exact problem that my academic work is solving. I saw that every vertical in the service space has their own software. You have software for events, and you have software for camps, and you have software for universities. Every single vertical has their own software. And I was looking, and I was like, but they're all doing the same thing. They're all doing basic onboarding, selection, eligibility, and payments. And then I understood, okay, this is exactly where what you built will work well, because you built something that can onboard any type of service. And that's, by the way, when my head opened up, it was like, okay, this is real. Like I can build something really nice here. Yeah, sure. I, the people that are using Regpack today, it stems from day camps, night camps, after school schools themselves, a lot of events, a lot of conferences, a lot of academic conferences as well. We see a lot of actually one of the our biggest verticals is educational tourism, where let's say a school or a church takes a group of people to Europe, let's say to visit some kind of thing that is connected to that community. So educational tourism, we see a lot of them come in. We see so that's where we are most of the time in the educational space. It's very diverse. Sure. Thank you. Thank you for listening.